Before the first light breaks over the eastern peaks, Rimachi is already there. He kneels in the cold mountain air, fingers trailing across the raw granite face as a blind man reads scripture. This is the ritual, the listening. To Rimachi, stone is not mute. It carries memory older than empire, older than language itself, compressed into crystal and silence across 10,000 years. The chisel rests untouched beside him. He breathes the thin highland air, sharp with eucalyptus smoke drifting up from Cusco below, and he waits. His palms read the subtle language of grain and fault, of weight and want. In the Inca world, to build is to commune with Pachamama, the Earth Mother, and to rush that communion is to invite catastrophe. Rimachi has never once cut carelessly. But today, a stone has been chosen for him, and the mountain has not yet spoken. They arrive at dawn. The Shaski, imperial runners, their breath rising in cold columns against the mountain air. Around one runner's wrist a quipu hangs. Knotted cords of dyed wool, each twist, and crossing a word, a command, a destiny rendered in fiber. Rimachi reads the knots with steady fingers, but his hands betray him, trembling slightly in the thin highland chill. His name, the Qorikancha, Pachacuti seal woven in crimson thread. The honor is without equal. A stonemason elevated to touch the very navel of the world. His neighbors watch from darkened doorways. They see glory. They see elevation. What none of them speak aloud, what hangs heavier than the quipu itself, is the other truth embedded in imperial favor. To be chosen is also to be accountable. And accountability, in Tawantinsuyu, has no mercy. Now Rimachi must go to the stone. 40 miles southeast of Cusco, the imperial quarry of Rumicolca, tears open the earth like a wound that never heals. Here, amid the thunder of bronze chisels and the acrid dust of andesite, Rimachi moves with the authority of a man who has learned to listen to stone. His hands read each surface like a blind priest reading omens. The chosen block is magnificent, gray-green and vast, veined with mineral fire, dragged by 1,000 straining backs across the altiplano. But as the quarry workers celebrate their selection, old Apu Kusi does not celebrate. The ancient quarryman crouches beside the stone in the long Achindian shadow, pressing a trembling palm against its flank. His lips move. His eyes, clouded as mountain mist, carry something heavier than age. They carry certainty. What Rimachi has seen, and what Apu Kusi knows, may not be the same thing at all. In a low stone room smelling of coca leaves and tallow smoke, the old quarryman Apu Kusi draws his final breaths. His hands, cracked and white with decades of stone dust, reach for Rimachi's wrist with surprising force. He speaks without speaking, his lips shaping words that belong to the mountain itself. The capstone, he insists. The great stone chosen for Pachacuti's glory. Inside it, invisible as a thought, runs a fracture, a wound the earth made before any chisel ever touched it. Rimachi kneels on cold earthen floors, torchlight guttering, watching the light leave the old man's eyes. Is this wisdom or fever? The testimony of a lifetime? Or the wandering of a dying mind? He cannot know. But the words settle into him like a crack settles into stone, silent, patient, and waiting to matter. Dawn breaks cold over Cusco, and Rimachi is already at work. The copper chisels ring against andesite with a rhythm that fills the valley, precise, relentless, almost devotional. Stone dust settles on his shoulders like gray snow. He works as though labor itself is an argument against doubt, driving each stroke deeper into the mountain's silence. His fingers trace every surface, every hidden seam, reading the rock the way a priest reads sacred thread. Searching, searching, but the stone reveals nothing. No fracture, no whisper of weakness. The old man's warning begins to feel like the fever dream of a dying mind. Rimachi straightens, sweat cooling on his chest, and looks at what is taking shape before him. Something close to magnificent. Something close to perfect. And yet the most dangerous flaws are never the ones we find. The torch gutters. Smoke curls upward, toward a sky that holds no mercy. Rimachi runs his fingertips across the sacred andesite. Slowly, methodically. The way a father checks a sleeping child for fever. And then he finds it. A hairline fracture, finer than a condor's whisker, threading through the stone like a secret the mountain has been keeping since before the first Inca drew breath. Exactly where old Apu Kusi said it would be. The chisel falls from Rimachi's hand and strikes the earth. Around him, Cusco sleeps, dreaming of glory and gold. The temple of Qorikancha rises magnificent in the darkness, blind to its own wound. Rimachi kneels beside his life's greatest work and understands, with absolute devastation, that the most dangerous thing he will ever carry is not stone. It is the truth. The court of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui smells of copal smoke and cold mountain stone. Rimachi enters barefoot, bearing the weight of earth itself on his shoulders, a burden no chisel can shape. Around him, lords in finest kumbi cloth stand motionless, as the carved serpents lining the walls. He carries nothing, no offering, no tool, only his voice and the terrible knowledge inside it. To speak unsummoned before the Sapa Inca is to gamble with every breath remaining in one's body. Yet Rimachi kneels, presses his lips toward the sacred floor, and raises his eyes to the throne. The silence that follows his revelation is absolute. Deeper than the valleys below, heavier than the granite he has spent a lifetime shaping. In that silence, an empire holds its breath, and a single man waits to learn whether truth is a gift or a sentence. Pachacuti does not speak. He stands motionless as carved obsidian, his golden earspools catching the temple lamplight, his eyes holding Rimachi in a gaze that has broken lesser men like river reeds. The silence stretches, a silence thick with copal smoke and consequence. Around them, the polished andesite walls of Qorikancha seem to lean inward, as if the very stones are listening. Rimachi's heart hammers against his chest like a mason's mallet on raw granite. Then, with the smallest inclination of his chin, the Sapa Inca summons his engineers, men who have built empires from mountain faces. They move toward the capstone with their plumb lines and bronze tools, and Rimachi understands that truth, once released into the world, belongs no longer to the man who spoke it. The engineers press their palms against cold granite and confirm what a dying man's whisper already knew. The fracture runs deep, a hidden seam, a secret the mountain kept. A new stone is quarried from the slopes above Cusco, its surface pale and unbroken as morning frost. Bronze tools sing against it for 7 days. When at last it is shaped and blessed with coca leaves and chicha poured into the mountain's wound, it is deemed worthy. The flawed stone is carried aside in silence, neither destroyed nor mourned, simply set apart like a word unsaid. And Rimachi stands among the living. Pachacuti, the earth shaker, the transformer of worlds, is said to respect a man who bows first to the gods. But the capstone still waits to be lifted into place, and nothing about that ascent will be simple. The sun breaks over the rim of the Andes like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath, flooding Cusco in copper and gold. Rimachi stands alone on the terraced hillside, sandaled feet pressed into cold earth still damp with night. Below, the priests move through the dedication ceremony like figures in a dream, incense smoke curling heavenward, conch shells crying across the valley. He watches the temple walls catch the light, stone fitted against stone, with the precision of a whispered confidence. He was not chosen to stand among them today. He understands this now, and finds he does not grieve it. Apu-Kusi gave him something no chisel could shape. The knowledge that a man's truest work is not what he builds, but what he refuses to bury. Yet the mountain, as always, is keeping its own counsel.